Let me take a couple of examples. Imagine investing in stock A. Now, beta of the stock A is, let us say, 1.5. My, what do you call it, return of the market, let us say, is 12% out there. My risk free rate investing in a government bond is 5% out there. Now, what is the expected return of stock A? The expected return of stock A will certainly be higher than 12% because the beta is 1.5. So, it will be nothing but 5% plus 1.5 into 12 minus 5, that is 7% out there. That is as well 1.5 into 7, that is 10.5. 10.5 plus 5 is 15.5% will basically be the expected return of investing in stock A. Am I right?
15.5%.
Yeah, that's all. See, 1.5 of 7%, right? That is about 10.5, that's all. Now, let me take one more example. I think my cursor moved. Yeah, let me take one more example. I invest in stock B. Let us not say stock. Let me say I invest in a bond B. Bond B is basically, what do you call it, as in this particular case I take the same. My RF is 5%. My market return is 12%. Whereas my beta of this particular bond is roughly about 0.8 out there. That is, the risk is lower than the market. Then what happens? It is 5% plus 0.8 into 12 minus 5, that is 7%, that will be equal to 0.8 into 7 plus 5. 5.6 plus 5, 10.6. 10.6%. So what happens? The return, what I am expected return is less than the market return. Market return is 12%. Now my expected return is only 10.5 in this particular case out there. So what am I trying to convey? That is, it depends on the beta. How do we measure beta? How do we measure beta out here? We did calculate measuring beta. The beta is nothing but covariance of my instrument, that is E. I said stock, I said you can take it bond, in relation to the market by the variance of the market. And then what did we do with that? We basically used that to arrive at the cost of equity. Cost of equity is the expected return of the equity. The expected return will include both, of course, dividend plus capital gain put together. Now we have, what do you call it, as cost of equity and cost of debt. Now imagine, let us say, I have a capital combination, I have a capital which has 60% equity and the expected return of equity is 12%, so I will calculate back, and 40% in the form of debt, and the cost of debt is 7%. Let us not assume taxes, there is no taxes in that. As of now, let us not assume taxes, there are no taxes. Now, what is the cost of capital for the company? That is, it is 60% into 12% plus 40% into some, that is basically 60 by 100 into 12% plus 40 by 100 into 7% out there. I have ignored taxes as of now. Let us not worry about taxes. What is it?
9.8.
That is, my cost of capital is about 9.8% out there. That is what, this is what we call it as WACC, or if a weighted average cost of capital. For every company, what is the objective? The objective is to keep this weighted average cost of capital at the lowest and investing in a project which gives you higher return out there. Investing in a project which gives you higher return and keep the weighted average cost of capital at the lowest. I have taken, this is what we call it as WACC or weighted average cost of capital. Now, so what? I will do that. But this weighted average cost of capital will change with change in equity and debt combination. Will change with equity and debt composition in the capital structure. Now, what happens to cost of equity when debt is there? What happens to cost of debt? Let us look at what happens to cost of equity when debt is there, when debt is in the form of debt. Let us take let us take an example. I have firm A, I have firm B. Both are exactly in the same business out there. Firm A has an equity of $100, firm B has zero equity. Sorry, $60 equity, extremely sorry. The debt in firm A is 0, the debt in firm B is 100. So, what happens is basically 100 out here, the 100 out here, and I will say the debt is at 10% out there. Debt cost of borrowing is 10%. Why I kept 10%? For ease of multiplication, nothing else. Now, what happens? Imagine the company makes a profit before interest and tax. Interest and tax, each one makes a profit before interest and tax of $10 each. Same business, same company. Then what happens? There is an interest. In this particular case, interest is 0 because debt is 0. In this case, company B, interest is $4 because I have got a $40 debt out there. So, my profit before taxes is $10 and $6 out here. Let me assume my tax at 50%. I think I used the same example, almost the same example when I taught what do you call it as return on capital employed or return on investment. I used that out there because almost the same example. So, 50% tax. So, what happens? $5 goes, $3 goes out here, and these $5 and these $3 is what is called as the net income or return to the shareholders. So, basically return on equity is what? $5 on 100, 5%, $3 on what is the equity? Equity is $60. So, again 5% out there. Beautiful. Now, let us say it is a COVID year, right? Businesses are down. So, what happens? Your capital structure is the same. Unfortunately, your profit is not $10 in both the cases. Your profit drops down to about $6 out there. Sorry, $8. Let me keep it as $8 out here. What happens? Interest in this case is 0. Interest in this case is $4. So, what happens? PBT in this case is 8. PBT in this case is 4. My tax is $4, my tax is $2 out there. What happens? My net income is $4 and my net income is $2 out there. So, what happens? My ROE in the second case is 4% for company A, and for company B it is $2 for $60 of capital out there, equity out there. What is the percentage? 3.33%. So, what has happened? The return for the debt holders has remained the same $4, return for the equity holder has decreased. I take one more example. Imagine it is a what is called as it is the peak of the COVID year. You don't even get $8, you get only $6. blob, $4 goes for as interest. So what happens? You have only $2 out there. In this particular case, you have $3 as return net income. In this particular case, $1 goes, only $1 comes in. So what happens? In the third case, ROE, my return is 3% in the first case. Second case, $1 for $60 out there, $1.67 out there. See the velocity of change, huge change. So what is happening? If you are an equity holder in company B vis-a-vis company A, your risk is higher, because what happens? The money as and when the bottom line, that is the profit before interest and tax, drops, the entire hit is borne by the equity holders, as you can see, and debt holders continues to get the same $4 in all the three cases. Debt holder continues to get the same $4 in all the three cases. So what is happening? Equity holders, as and when there is a what is called a risk is never on the upside. Sir, what happens from $10 if it goes to $15? Then equity holders will get more. Yes, I don't deny that. But what are we talking about? We are talking about risk. Risk is never on the upside, right? Risk is never there. You don't call when it moves from $10 to $15 as risk. What is risk? When it moves below $10 is what we call it as risk out there. So what is happening? The risk of equity holders is higher moment debt is there in the capital structure, or moment debt component creeps into the capital structure. So what happens? The expected return of equity will increase as debt gets into capital structure. As debt gets into capital structure. Now, even for that matter, let us take this same example. Imagine your company is going in for expansion. You are putting up one more plant and you want to raise $20 more out there. Maybe 20, you can add any number of zeros. So what happens if you add in $20 more out there? My capital from 100 moves to 120 equity. In the company A, I have raised it in the form of equity. In the company B, I have raised it in the form of debt. So what happens is, in this particular case, I will say I raise 60 becomes 60, 40 becomes 60, then this becomes 120. Now, you are putting up a plant. When does the return come? Return will come after you put up a plant. After the plant is ready, after the plant has come into operation, after the plant has reached a steady state, that is when return will come. But whereas when your moment you have borrowed, your PBIT will be the same $10. Then what happens? Interest in this case 0, interest in this case $6. Why? Because your debt is increased to 60. So now what happens? In this particular case, this is 10 and this is $4 out there. Then my PBT, my tax is 50%, as I said, $5 and $2 gone. Now I have only what is called as my PAT, or profit after tax, is $2 out there. So for $120, I get $5 out there. My return of equity, $120, it is $5 out there. Whereas the other case, for $60, I am getting $2 out there. What is the return in case A, case B?
4.17.
In this case, it is 4.17%. In the other case, 2 by 60.
3.33.
3.33% out there. So what is happening? Moment debt creeps into the capital structure, the risk of equity holder increase. Why? Because the debt fellows get paid right from day one. Whether your company has started, stabilized, plant is ready, I don't care. You start surveying. So what happens? The cost of equity always increases moment debt creeps into the capital structure. So now what is the question? Sir, then we'll all go for equity, we'll never go for debt. No, because debt is theoretically cheaper as compared to what is called as equity. The cost of debt, equity holders have a risk. You supposing the company makes no profit, or the company makes only $4 profit. Let us say the company makes only $4 profit out there, or sorry, let us say the company makes $6 in this case. Let us say the company makes only $6 profit in this case. What happens out here? 6 and 3 gone, and then 3, whereas in this particular case the debt holder get the entire $6 out there. So debt holders do not have that kind of risk. So cost of debt will always be, normally be cheaper as compared to the cost of equity. Normally, I use the word instead of using always, normal. Usually be cheaper as compared to cost of equity. So sir, we will go for all debt, we will not go for equity. Debt means borrowing, somebody has to have a owner. So what is the challenge? The challenge is to have a right combination of debt and equity. That is what we call it as the challenge, is to have combination or the right combination of debt and debt and equity. To take it further, I can even say that the second debt what you borrowed out here, that is 40 to 60, the cost of the another $20 debt will not be at the same 10%, will also be higher than 10%. Why? Because let us see in this particular case, supposing it is not $6, it drops to $5. Then you will not even be able to service the debt out in this particular case. You will not even be able to service the debt in this particular case out there. So whatever, risk profile, there is no cushion, $6, there is no cushion. So risk profile of the debt holder is also increasing. As debt also increases in the capital structure, the risk of debt holders also increase, the cost of debt will also increase. Now I have got a beautiful example where I will show you this entire in Excel sheet, this entire combination out. I will move to the Excel sheet. That is, the challenge therefore is to have a right combination of debt and equity, where my overall, what do you call it as, WACC will be lower. Will be lower out. Now I said ignore taxes when you calculated WACC there. Go back to the example that I gave you when I talked about return on investment or return on capital employed. So what do? We say that whatever is the equity divided by my total capital into cost of equity out there, what is called as KE normally, plus the different kinds of debt by total capital into cost of debt out there into 1 minus taxes out there. Why? Because I want to take out the tax advantage. Go back to that example. When I talked about, go back to that lecture. When I talked about return on equity, return on capital employed and return on investment, I have talked about why we do what is called as the take out the tax advantage. Go back to that lecture, listen to that again. I specifically talked about why do we take out the tax advantage. So exactly the same thing only. Sir, what happens if I have borrowing from 10 different, I have borrowing from bank, borrowing from financial institution, borrowing from somewhere else, each will have a different cost. Yes, then I will say D1 into DS plus D2 into total capital into K of D2 into 1 minus T and so on and so forth. It can be endless out there, and that is what we call it as WACC, weighted average. Objective of any company is to keep the cost of capital at the lowest, invest in a project which gives the higher NPV that yesterday we saw, invest in a project which gives the highest possible NPV and source capital at the lowest possible cost out there. Now, I will show you in a simple example how this debt equity combination will basically change. I am going to use, I have put up a problem on your simple calculation on the attached this thing.